Hey all, welcome back to Howieverse. I'm your host Howie. We have a lot to unpack today, so let's get to it. July job reports just dropped and it's not pretty. Only 73,000 jobs added, far short of the 115,000 economists expected. On top of that, May and June numbers were sharply revised down by a combine of 258,000 jobs. The unemployment rate up 4.2%, but here's the kicker. AI trend may make this worse, so let's break it down, the four warning signs you need to watch out for. And yes, a 2025 recession is looking more likely. Job growth is far below expectation. Trade pressures are mounting. AI adoption is replacing job, and Federal Reserve is getting ready to cut rates earlier than expected. Each of these alone is a red flag. Together, this is really concerning. So first, let's deep dive into July job reports. Unemployment rate takes up to 4.2%, with manufacturing, transportation, and parts of retail seeing the sharpest decline. However, there is no major concern yet overall. The data is in line between 4 to 4.2% since May 2024. So since more than a year ago, it's been ricocheting between this really tight range. However, what's concerning is that the headlines only 73,000 jobs added in July versus expectation of 115,000. That is really, really weak. And economists also says that we generally need 80,000 to 100,000 jobs per month just to keep up with the population growth. And July did not come even close. Also, the revision May and June payrolls were cut by 258,000 jobs, meaning the labor market was weaker for months before this report. The data yield slowdown has already happened in the US economy, and this is really concerning for the job market and the economy itself. Second topic, let's look at trade and tariff pressure. Let's look at the tariff discussion looking at UPS earning. So if you go to their website, they tell you the tariff impact information with tariff updates, right? So if you click on view tariff updates, you get into this PDF. It shows you the recent tariff development. If you scroll down, you get into the contents. So the first one is the executive order modifying US tariff rates, and the White House released an executive order revisiting tariffs rate with trading partners. So any country that is not listed will have 10% tariff. So it's listed in this Annex 1 right here. If we click on it and we scroll to the bottom, you'll get a table. And here we don't see Canada, so that means they got 10%, right? Or I don't see China either, so they're 10% at this moment that we're speaking. India at 25%, Japan at 15%, Laos at 40%, look at Indonesia at 19%, New Zealand at 15%. How about Australia? Australia not listed, so it's 10%. And if we go to United Kingdom, it's also 10%, right? So if we go back to the PDF, let's look at the proclamation of adjusting import duties. So adjusting import duties on copper and copper derivative products, copper input materials such as copper cores, concentrates, matters, cathodes and anodes, and copper scraps are not subjected to 232 of reciprocal tariff. That's good to know. However, what is included is the US import of semi-finished copper products such as copper pipes, wire rods, sheets, and tubes, and copper intensive derivative products such as pipe fittings, cables, connectors, and electrical components. For all countries will face a 50% tariffs. So 50% for any copper related products, right? And the Third thing is the US executive order suspending the minimis exemption globally. President Trump signs an executive order suspending the minimis exemption of all low value under $800 shipments to the United States. So all US imports, regardless of their values, country origin, mode of entry, and how they routed into the country, will not be subjected to applicable US duties and taxes when shipped via non-postal networks. For goods shipped through the international postal system, duties will be assessed using either ad valorem duty based on the effective tariffs rate and specific duty $80 to $200 per item depending on the country of origin. So according to the UPS, shares has been trending sharply lower since its earning release. The main driver behind the drop is the company decision to withhold full year guidance, citing uncertainty related to tariffs and shifting global trade condition. UPS Q2 results are telling. First, the package volume drop. Second, the earning missed expectation. And third, they pulled their full year guidance entirely. According to the CEO, the trade does not stop, it moves, but they're clearly feeling the hit from the tariff disruption, especially with the Trump tariff updates. When the global shipping slows, it is not just about the packages, it is a sign of weaker demand in manufacturing, retail, and export. That feeds right back into the fire and freeze. So the third one in the list is the AI warning sign with job displacement risk. So for now, whereas the AI story turns into opportunity to risk, the same companies driving the AI boom, like Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, AMD, Trade Desk, Palantir, are also using AI to cut costs and automate roles. Especially in Meta and Microsoft, they are deploying AI to streamline marketing, supports, and even middle management, all while investing heavily in AI infrastructure. In logistics, Amazon are testing AI routing and robotics that reduce the need for human sorter and drivers. So here's the risk. In healthy economy, automation might free up workers to move into new jobs, but in slowdown, these jobs just do not come back. This means higher employment for longer, weaker consumer spending, and slower recovery. This is what I call recession multiplier. The economy slows down and layoff happen. AI prevent those jobs from returning quickly. So basically the companies need to cut costs and the first thing they're gonna cut is the employee. And if they need the employee for a certain role, they are going to basically take AI to replace the job for that certain role. So the fourth thing that we're going to talk about is the Fed September rate cut outlook. The Federal Reserve now sees trouble ahead as well. CME Fed Tools has factored in 88.4% the Fed will cut 25 basis point in September report. Also, JP Morgan, they have been moved up its forecast. They calling 4 rate cuts starting in September, with the first being 25 basis point. Also, the Fed chair, Michelle Bowman, is backing this, pointing directly that the soft labor data. So historically, when the Fed cuts rate this fast outside of a crisis, it is because they see recession risk climbing, even if they don't say it out loud. So in conclusion, 258,000 jobs will revise down, trades and tariffs slowing key industry, AI accelerating jobs displacement, and Fed will likely to pivoting to cuts. That's a mix you cannot ignore. However, I would love to hear your thoughts on the current situation of the economy. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines and know what these signals means for your portfolio, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification. Again, I'm Howie, and this is Howie First. See you next week.